or find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law. I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
On the news tonight, President Tinubu assures investors of policy consistency and better business environment. Legislative business resumes as National Assembly members resume after 2 weeks break. Plus, federal government sets to build 3.5 million toilets across Nigeria. A warm welcome to NTA Lagos Channel 10 News at 7. I am Musa Toliat. Many thanks for joining us. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured the business community of his government's commitment to policy consistency and better business climate to attract investment. The president spoke on Monday while receiving the delegation of the Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC, led by the Global Upstream Director at the State House in Abuja. President Tinubu reiterated that Nigeria is ready for business, assuring the Shell management and other investors of his administration's commitment and willingness to maintain an open door policy and address their concerns. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's participation at the new Global Financing Summit in Paris has been described as apt and pivotal to the clamor for more foreign direct investments in Nigeria and Africa. Diplomacy experts on Good Morning Nigeria in Nigeria and Africa. Diplomacy experts on Good Morning Nigeria agree that harnessing the benefits of the Global Financing Summit requires aggressive follow-up and coordination by relevant ministries of government. Lydia Sampson reports.
Stage, stressing that President Tinubu's engagement in France reinforced Nigeria's status.
For President Tinubu to have made it to Paris, I'm very happy. And indeed, those who have commended him have done what is proper. You commend what is right. That our leader of this country must be seen where things are happening. And that he stepped out to this important summit is an indication that Nigeria is willing to engage.
The guests urged the president to come up with deliberate policies to attract foreign direct investments.
There should be reform, a reform that will translate the officers to be committed to follow up on agreements that have been signed. You see, it is one thing to go and sign an agreement and then put it on the shelf without circulating this agreement to relevant agencies that are supposed to participate. There should be a coordination unit. Where is the evaluation? Where is the evaluation? Where are the bottlenecks? If there are bottlenecks, let's attack and address these bottlenecks so that this agreement will see the light of the day.
These, they say, will mitigate the mistakes and lessons in the past, where critical assets in the country had remained on the drawing table for decades, despite prior engagements with countries on their viability. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA.
The legislative agenda of the 10th Assembly is in the works as both the Senate and the House of Representatives will convene after 2 weeks recess. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on the likely areas of focus as the lawmakers resume plenary this week.
Shortly after inauguration, June 13, 2023, Nigeria's bicameral legislature passed information to the executive and other parliamentary bodies on the composition of the 10th Assembly. The two chambers thereafter set up committees to allot seats and offices, after which the lawmakers proceeded on a 2 weeks break. As the Senate and House of Representatives reconvene Tuesday, both chambers will be preoccupied with formation of leadership as Nigerians await the names of lawmakers to occupy the front row seats as plenary as majority and minority leaders. Expectedly, the leadership will be engaged with the constitution of standing committees
as well as the constitution of the various standing committees, so that the Senate will be fully constituted to discharge its constitutional mandate of oversight over ministries, departments, and agencies.
Following the appointment of service chiefs, the Senate and House of Representatives will, in line with constitutional provisions, conduct screening for approval of those appointments. In view of the provisions of the 5th Constitution amendments, the President is expected to submit the list of ministerial nominees to the Senate before the end of July 2023. Meanwhile, both chambers have expressed willingness to work with President Bola Tinubu on the economic policies rolled out since his assumption of office for the benefit of Nigerians.
Our main focus is to see how we can support the executive led by the presidents, Asiwaju, Tinubu, to see how we can recover the economy. The moment we recover the economy, I can assure you that both our constituents and the general public are going to really enjoy the new government.
Some issues may roll over from the 9th to the 10th Assembly, among which are the issues of women inclusion and constitutional amendments.
Unless we take deliberate steps, women, with a view to bringing them into the governance structure of this country. As you can see, women constitute about 50% of our population, and we cannot afford to relegate them to the background.
In the meantime, other legislative staff are bracing up for the resumption of the two chambers with necessary preparations. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NC News.
The Foods Agenda Plus of the Lagos State government has remained a reference point for research and study for academic and policy formulation purposes across the country. Secretary to the state government, Bimbola Salu Ndeyin, stated this at the opening of study tour of the Nigerian Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies in Lagos. The report.
It's also an opportunity.
Participants of the Senior Executive Course 45 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies are in Lagos as part of the local study tour to understudy specific areas of development supported by sustainable policy formulation in the states. The group is guided by a theme of study which covers industrialization, energy security, and climate change mitigation.
Study Group 4 has come to Lagos State to study, to learn, and to understand how the Lagos State government has been able to support the available industries to overcome the challenge or the challenges of the energy poverty, and of course to see how Lagos State mitigates the impact of climate change.
Secretary to the state government, Bimbola Salu Ndeyin, assured the Senior Executive Course 45 participants that arrangements have been made to grant access to areas of interest to ensure the success of the study tour to Lagos.
Lagos, as a tech sector, which the last speaker had just confirmed, is the only state in Nigeria that has a roadmap to combating climate change. You all will be able to interact with the state think tank who are positioned to share with the delegates some of the state strategies that will enrich your understanding, develop greater policies for recommendation and implementation on the three.
NTA Lagos Channel 10, Tejojo, or call our telephone number, Chibuzo 0812 324 5519. Gmo 0803 830 1669. NTA Lagos Channel 10 premises, affordable just for you.
This hour. Nigeria is intensifying efforts to ensure availability of toilets required to attaining open defecation free status by 2025. Oluseyi Adiagbo was at the first Toilet Business Owners Conference in Abuja and reports that public-private collaboration at all levels to build more than 3.5 million toilets across the country was top on the agenda.
The National Outcome Routine Mapping WashNum 2021 reports that 48 million Nigerians still practice open defecation. The federal government has since 2018 declared a state of emergency on the nation's water supply, sanitation and hygiene sector and has set a national target of making the country open defecation free by 2025. With efforts being made especially at sub-national levels, Jigawa State is already certified open defecation free, while Katsina is almost achieving this status, but many states are still miles away from these. Consequently, the incorporation of the private sector to create sustainable solutions.
This conference with the theme Providing the Toilets Nigeria Needs to End Open Defecation, the role of TBOs, is apt, considering the country's current economic realities, marked by dwindling government resources, which has made it imperative for private sector involvement.
Open defecation-free Nigeria is everyone's, and that is part of your job as well. It's not just creating the toilets, but it's creating the demand.
This conference will also strategize on raising public awareness on the risks of open defecation and stimulate new thinking as well as innovation around addressing Nigeria's sanitation crisis, with special focus on promoting market-based sanitation approaches. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
Time now for some entertainment news. Wizkid and Tems reunite at Essence Festival for sensational performance. This and more on entertainment news with Olajide Odusami.
Nigerian international superstars Wizkid and Tems have reunited to deliver an impressive rendition of their hit single, Essence. Since its release in 2020, Essence, one of the tracks on Wizkid's fifth album, Made in Lagos, has enjoyed international success that has earned it a top 10 Billboard Hot 100 entry and double RIAA Platinum plugs. Meanwhile, Davido wowed fans at sold-out show in Washington, D.C. After a moment away from the mainstream, Davido returned in March 2022 with his fourth album, Timeless, which has gone on to set multiple African records across all major streaming platforms. Davido continued his Timeless tour with the latest stop in Washington, D.C., where he sold out the 21,000 capacity Capital One Arena as he treated fans to a collection of his classic hit songs. Also, in a surprising turn of events, entertainment executive and talent manager Tunji Balogun, popularly known as TBUs, has ignited a wave of reactions with his recent declaration of Tiwa Savage as the greatest of all time. TBUs, who is credited with playing a significant role in Tiwa Savage's rise to stardom, expressed his belief that without their combined efforts, no other female artist will stand a chance in the music industry. And on the foreign scene, Leandro De Niro Rodriguez, the grandson of Robert De Niro and child of actress Joanna De Niro, has died. Joanna, who is the daughter of the raging booster and ex Diane Abbott, confirmed the death of her darling boy. And that's it on entertainment news. I am Olajide Odumi.
Up next is Sports Update with Suleiman Musa.
The Nigerian women's football team Super Falcons on Sunday flew Qatar Airways from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Abuja to Melbourne in Australia to step up their preparations for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. The Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) had announced that the 9th FIFA Women's World Cup. The Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) had announced that the 9-time African champions will depart Abuja for a 15-day training camp in Australia before the World Cup, with their base at Brisbane, which is also the venue for 2 of their group matches. And to basketball, Nigeria will not be participating in the FIBA African Basketball Championship when it commences later this year, as they lost a ticket in the final match day to Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire became the latest team to qualify for the 2023 FIBA African after defeating Nigeria 74-65. Having recorded a loss on the opening day to Guinea, Nigeria made a strong comeback defeating Benin Republic 78-51, but failed to overpower the host Cote d'Ivoire on Sunday. Cote d'Ivoire recorded 100% performance by beating Guinea 88-64 in the first game, defeating Benin Republic 74-59 and edged Nigeria 74-65 in the third match. And to athletics, Nigeria's hurdle star Tobi Amusan wins Stockholm Diamond League Women's 100 meters hurdles. Champion to be the best in the event on Sunday and dubbed Sarah Levin and Pia to second and third respectively. Amusan came first with a time of 12.52 and 1 gold. Sarah Levin of Ireland 12.73, while Pia of Poland finishes with a time of 12.78. And finally, in golf, Taylor Gooch holed a 12-foot birdie on the final hole to win Leaf Golf Andalusia by 1 shot at Valderrama. The American is the first 3-time winner on the Leaf circuit, following victories in Adelaide and Singapore. His 4-under par 67 saw him finish on 12 under and leapfrog overnight leader Bryson DeChambeau, who shot a 69. The 48 players head to England for the next event, with the St. John's Golf Club in Hertfordshire hosting Leaf Golf London, which start on Friday, 7 July. With sport update, Suleiman Musa, NTA News.
Well, Sports Update wraps up the English segment of the news at 7. I am Musa Toliat. Stand by now as we join Benga Oloyede for the translation of the news in Yoruba language. Good evening.